Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome you to the regular council meeting. Call this meeting to order. We are going to give a tribute to our dear Councillor Lisa Hanson-Zacharak, who has just recently passed away. Each of council members want to say something. So Patrick, we'll start with you.
Thanks. I just want to say that I really appreciate the time that I've had serving with Lisa. She is fiercely dedicated to her community and wore her heart on her sleeve. I think one of her most admirable traits was her just ability to connect with people, bring their concerns to the table without hesitation. She also taught me the importance of respecting different points of views. She could sit down, have a heated conversation with someone, stand up, shake hands, and walk away as friends. And so my deepest condolences to her family this time.
Tom?
Yeah, I had the pleasure of working with Lisa for probably 12 years or so on council, and very, very strong advocate for the community. And everybody's going to say wonderful things about her, and she was wonderful. I'm just going to mention one thing that was a real standout for me is that Lisa was a real advocate for what I'm going to call the marginalized people in the community. That there are people in this community that have all sorts of issues, all sorts of problems. Maybe they've never even voted in their lives, but they trusted and they loved Lisa. And they would go to Lisa. They wouldn't go to town hall. They wouldn't go to bylaw. But they would go to Lisa, and Lisa was their voice. And she really felt that in a democracy, even these people needed a voice, and she was their voice, and she was absolutely loved by them and trusted by them. And the last thing I'd like to say on behalf of Lisa is, of course, go Oilers.
Stephanie?
Thank you. I am deeply saddened by the loss of our colleague, Councillor Lisa Hanson-Zacharak. My heart goes out to her family, friends, and all those whose lives have been touched by the profound loss. Her absence will be felt deeply within this council and throughout our community. I will be forever grateful for the time spent with her. Her dedication and love for the Valley was apparent by her unwavering ability to advocate and help our residents. Her courage, strength, and positivity is an inspiration to all those who knew her. May her memory be a source of comfort and inspiration for us all.
Tony?
I too would like to express our deepest condolences to Lisa Hanson-Zacharak's family during this difficult time. She's had a long fight and she's battled hard. I've been fortunate to have worked alongside her for the past 8 years. I've always found her to be caring and compassionate while dedicated to fulfilling her duties as a municipal councillor. She was passionate about politics and about advancing our community. She will be sadly missed.
Daryl, could you speak on behalf of Crystal, please?
Yes, so this is on behalf of Councillor Crystal Soretta. It's been an incredible honor to learn from Lisa these past 3 years about our community, the challenges, tough decisions, but more important, her incredible strength, courage, and determination to fight for our community, her family, and her life. She has been a huge inspiration to me to live my life as if it were my last days. Going to miss your laugh, your sarcastic banters with Tom in chambers, and all of your knowledge. Finally, your body can rest while we lead with our hearts just as you did.
Thank you. Lisa fought such a hard battle with cancer, and throughout these past few years fighting this terrible disease, she continued to work so hard for this valley, and she always wanted to make herself available. Many times I'd call her and just say, "Hey Lisa, I just need to know your opinion on this or where you stand on that." And she'd always give me like really super honest feedback, and I'm gonna miss that. She was just such a huge part of this council. She was, as Tom said, she just was so good with residents. Her heart was always in the right place. Um, when I went and visited her, she even stayed up current with the election. She's always knowing what's going on provincially. She stayed right in tune with everything we're doing municipally. It was just such an honor to work with her over the past 8 years, and she was just an absolute token of what it means to be a resident of Drumheller, the passion, the heart, and just an amazing counselor and friend. I always would call her and say, "I need her back at the table," because she would always challenge, and she spoke for the right reasons, for right things. So I'm gonna miss her, and all our thoughts and prayers go out to Lisa's family. All right. Is there any additions to the agenda? Tony?
Yeah, I'd just like to add 5A, councillor vacancy.
Anybody else? All in favor, or can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended, please? Tom?
I move the council adopt the agenda as amended for the May 5th, 2025 regular council meeting.
Seconder, please. Patrick? All in favor? Carrie? Can I get a motion for the minutes of April 22nd, please? Patrick?
I move the council approve the minutes for the April 22nd, 2025 regular council meeting as presented.
Seconder, please. Stephanie, comments? All in favor? Carried. And can I get a motion for the minutes of April 29th special council meeting, please? Tony?
I move that council approve the minutes for the April 29, 2025 special council meeting as presented.
Seconder, please. Stephanie, comments? All in favor? Carried. All right, we'll go into 5A, please, Daryl.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we have of course, with great sadness, the town of Drumheller has learned the passing of Councillor Lisa Hansen-Zacharak. Councillor Hansen-Zacharak has served 4 terms as the councillor with grace, dignity, and tenacity, and has been a valuable asset to the town of Drumheller and to the community at large. With her passing, there is a vacancy on council. In accordance with Section 162 of the Municipal Government Act, a vacancy must be filled via by-election, unless the vacancy occurs after January 1st of the year of general election. Since the 2025 municipal election will be taking place this year on October 20th, administration is recommending that the position remain vacant until that time and that a by-election not take place. Councillor Locker and Mayor Kohlberg were appointed to sit on the boards occupied by Councillor Hansen-Zacharak on April 7th, 2025. So administration also recommends that council revise the 2024-2025 roster for deputy mayor to account for the passing of Councillor Hansen-Zacharak with the substitution of Councillor Soretta this summer in July and August. So recommending that, that by-election shall not take place and that vacancy of council shall remain unoccupied until it is assumed during the 2025 municipal election on October 20th in accordance with Section 162 of the Municipal Government Act.
Okay, sorry, Tony, can you make this motion, please? There's 2 of them there.
I move that a by-election shall not take place and that the vacancy of the council remain unoccupied until it is assumed during the 2025 municipal election of October 20, 2025, in accordance with Section 162 of the Municipal Government Act.
Seconder, please. Tom, comments? All in favor? Carried.
I'd also like to make a motion that that council approve the revised 2024-2025 roster for deputy mayor as presented.
Seconder, please. Patrick, comments? I just ask council if Crystal's covering 2 months in a row and the next 2 months, so if I need to switch off, if you can be available, thank you. Okay, all in favor? Carried. Could I at this time just have a moment of silence for Lisa? Just thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, we'll move on to 6.1 please. And we have a presentation from STARS.
Good evening. It is a pleasure to come back to your council. Beautiful drive today from my small town of Bassano. And good to see all of you again. First and foremost, my heartfelt condolences to all of you and the family and friends of Councillor Hanson Zacharek. My deepest condolences. This year marks STAR's 40th anniversary. STARS has been providing the highest level of critical care and grown from the 1 base to 6 bases across Western Canada. And it is also with sadness that we announce the passing of Dr. Gregory Powell, founder of STARS. If it wasn't for his innovativeness and relentless dedication, along with a few of his colleagues, to get STARS off the ground, it wouldn't be what it is today. And also without the support of many to keep it going after all of these years. STARS is your best hope in a worst case scenario. And as a charitable organization, we continue to operate at no cost to the patient, thanks to supporters like the town of Drumheller. Just an update that we did secure another 10-year service agreement with our largest donor, Alberta Health Services. So that is at the same amount that we've been receiving since 2021, $15 million per year in block funding. After that, we still must fundraise 56% of our operating budget in Alberta. The STARS Lottery continues to be our largest fundraiser, bringing in enough proceeds to cover the cost of 1 base, which is around $11.4 million. After that, it is a combination of corporate, business, and individual contributions, community-driven fundraisers like Old Grouch's Jamboree that has been running for many years here in Drumheller, and also the municipal initiative that is province-wide. Here is a map that shows the different levels of support from across Alberta and Northeast BC, municipal support speaking. So we did add a number of new municipalities. Very thankful for that as missions continue to be on the rise with every passing year. 95% of the municipalities that were in partnership with, 95% across Alberta are in partnership. So I'll just go over the different levels of support. So under $2 per capita are all shown in the light blue or gray, if you will, there. And our regional leaders are shown in a sea of navy blue across the map. So that contributes to, that's 80% of support is a regional leader. And we also have a number of municipal leaders. And last year we welcomed Birch Hills County as with a logo unveiling in recognition of their contributions. This year we'll recognize Rocky View County in July. So these provincial leaders are on a fixed rate of support and a standing motion, and they're recognized with the logo unveiling when they reach over 500,000 in cumulative giving. Here we also have the red outlined around a number of the areas, and this showcases our regional leaders where everybody within those municipal boundaries, the towns and villages in partnership with the MD or county, are all contributing in a united effort to support STARS. Town of Drumheller is just shown above Wheatland County there because you're within your own municipal boundaries. We didn't want you to be lost on the map, so you're an exclamation point there. And we still have a couple non-supporters in southern Alberta. Overall, great support across the province. This is our 15-year mission overview. Basically, in recognition of our 40th anniversary, we wanted to show you a little more history of what's happening with missions in the area. So on this map, this shows anybody who has been critically ill or injured within the town of Drumheller's boundaries that needed STARS. So they were either airlifted from the hospital, which shows up as IFTs, interfacility transfers, or with scene calls near Drumheller. So this could be people that live in the area, this could be tourists, and anybody that lives here. So in total, 305 missions flown since 2010. So on average, 20 missions per year. And this next map is our postal code project. So this speaks particularly to anybody who has a Town of Drumheller postal code. So Town of Drumheller residents and anybody who lives rurally that has a Town of Drumheller postal code. So since 2010 on this map, we accessed patient postal code info and gathered that 152 total Drumheller residents have been flown since 2010, 128 picked up in Drumheller, and 24 residents flown from 20 other locations across Alberta. And in many cases, you'll see that residents have been flown from across Western Canada. You may see red dots in Manitoba or far into BC. So this just is testament to the fact that accident and illness do not only happen when we're close to home. As you know, as a tourist community, many people pass through, and unfortunately, sometimes things happen. This is a day in the life at STARS. So basically, this is a mission log showing the different missions that come through the Emergency Link Center in Calgary. So on average, 11 missions per day across all 6 bases, and over 60,000 missions flown to date. Our air medical crew crosses borders. They also do a lot of cross training so that they can be prepared for the unthinkable. I'll just highlight a couple of examples here. Mission number 3 was where there was a critically ill newborn. The STARS crew actually flew the NICU team out to where the patient was, provided critical care on site, and then went by ground with the infant. Number 6 is a rollover accident, where after gaining more information through the STARS Emergency Link Center, the mission was canceled, no transport was required. Mission number 7 was a workshop explosion where it was deemed that another mode of transport was best for that patient. So STARS crew members do travel on all modes of transport, by ground, Alberta fixed wing, and of course with our helicopters. Mission number 10 was a motor vehicle collision, and it was deemed also in this case where the patient would go by ground with our air medical crew. So in different situations, a patient may not be able to fly. It could be dependent on respiratory issues. It could be for a bariatric patient that's not able to be safely secured in the helicopter. So that is a day in the life at STARS. On this particular day, there were 18 different types of missions that came through the center. Last year, we shared that we do have night vision goggle capability now for over 20 years, and supported by our full-time crew, so serving 24/7. In addition to that, we've had universal blood on board since 2013, increasing to 4 units of blood, and now another new innovation, a new medication for hemorrhage control. So essentially, this bolstered the air medical crew's toolkit by being able to provide another option. So in patients who require more than 2 units of blood, the crew member is able to administer this medication, and what it does is it helps to clot the blood and slow down the bleeding, giving that life-saving time that the patient needs. This is our longest mission ever. So in 2022, longest mission ever, and it was where a fellow was hunting in northern BC. The 2 of them unloaded the riverboat went upstream 5 hours, and then hiked for a couple hours. At that time, Doug McTavish was experiencing a full-blown heart attack. And being that it was going to be dark soon and search and rescue was not able to fly at night, they decided to try the Emergency Link Center, and STARS was dispatched from Grand Prairie. So they went from Grand Prairie to Fort Nelson to refuel, and then to Chi House where the patient was. At that point, they had to land on the side of a riverbank with the tail end of the helicopter over the river, and then put packs on their back and hike up to where the patient was. They assessed Doug and safely brought him back down the mountain, across the river, and into the helicopter. And then they began their journey back to Grand Prairie, first stopping in Watson Lake for fuel, Fort Nelson, and then to Grand Prairie when the patient actually went by fixed wing. So our air medical crew travels by fixed wing as well, so staying with that patient until they got to Edmonton. In total, 2,408 liters of fuel burned, 1,763 kilometers flown, 8.2 hours of flight time, and 5.3 hours with the patient. 1 life saved. So this is the difference that your contribution makes, that no matter who you are or where you are, you deserve to have the best chance at survival. We thank the town of Drumheller for your ongoing support. Your current level of support is $10,000 at a fixed rate, and this last contribution was on a 4-year pledge agreement, which expires in 2025. So we're extremely grateful for that support. It works out to around $1.26 per capita. And we're, being that you're within your own boundaries here, it is a very busy area. We're requesting that there's a graduated proposal. Perhaps in 2025, we could move to 13,000 fixed rate, and then proposing to the new council that perhaps we can go to 16,000 fixed rate for 26, 7, and 8. And this would bring you up to regional leader status along with many of your municipal neighbors and partners across the province. So in addition, Drumheller residents are served by 2 bases, Calgary and Edmonton. We also provide virtual care to the hospital here. So to the medical professionals, medical and procedural guidance through virtual calls, whether that's through a computer or through an iPad or a phone, that's possible. And so just assisting beyond the helicopter. So this year, with our 40th anniversary, we're just very thankful to the town of Drumheller for your support. A life is saved every day, and it's your partnership that makes it possible. Thank you so much for partnering with STARS, and we appreciate your consideration.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Questions, council? Tom?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. STARS, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing. A couple of questions. First question, I had heard that the current big new helicopter couldn't fly into Drumheller because the pad was too small. Is that
I've not
just a
been
rumor?
alerted to that at all.
No.
There's been no communication on that, and I'm sure that would have been, this helicopter that we have right now, the H145, is what we've been using since 2021. So I'm sure if there was an issue with that, it would have been pinpointed right away at that time.
A second thing, we have kind of upped the grade of fuel at our airport to whatever it's called.
It's nav gas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so helicopters could now fuel up in our airport. And I remember that was a request a number of years ago.
It's not ready yet, Tom.
Not ready yet. Oh, okay.
It's in Jet A fuel, yeah. It's a 2025 construction.
Okay. So just to make it aware that they could fuel up here if they absolutely needed to.
We appreciate that. There are about 59 fuel caches across 3 provinces, and it's always great to have another one, especially if we're heading further west. That's great to know. I'll pass that on.
Yeah. The other thing I'd like to mention, and I tell people this all the time, is that because of STARS, the medical support available to people in Drumheller is as good as anywhere, as good as Calgary. I mean, you get to the Foothills Hospital probably as fast through STARS from Drumheller as you can in rush hour in Calgary. So I mentioned that. Can I mention one thing as well? Have we got an extra 30 seconds or so? Watson Lake. Okay. So lived in Watson Lake many years ago. And it would have been nice to have STARS then, because we were living in Watson Lake and I was living at that time within my mother. So she was pregnant and there's no obstetrics, whatever, in Watson Lake. And so she was literally shipped to Whitehorse in a transport plane. She got on the plane with a forklift because that's all they had available to get her onto the plane. And so I was shipped to Whitehorse and was born in the Whitehorse Hospital. So I'm just saying, would have been nice to have STARS back then a few years ago. That's about 6 or 7 years ago.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Anybody else? All right. So yeah, as far as the, I think we've got it in the budget, so we're gonna have to check, but we haven't seen an invoice from you yet. So we will discuss this with our CFO, who's not looking at me. But we will have this discussion with her. But definitely, yeah, we always are grateful for STARS, and thank you for your presentation, and thank you for the updated information.
Thank you very
And
much.
thanks for making the drive over.
Yeah, I always enjoy it. I will leave the STARS impact report here, a couple of these for your, either for your coffee room or one for the front so that your residents can see, the impact that the town of Drumheller is making by having the highest level of critical available for them in a worst case scenario, as well as the STARS 40th anniversary calendar. So basically, it's a then and now of many VIP stories and also a bit of a timeline in there of STAR's history. So we'll leave one for you and for your office here and one for the fire department. We continue to be very grateful for everything they do in helping land STARS at a scene call and keep everyone safe that's involved.
Wonderful. Who's selling your calendars? Are they coming around, or they're going door to door again this year, or
Calendars were for sale everywhere, like at all Viterra locations. They partner with us on the calendar. There are some salespeople around, but I do not know if when they've come here. I think they would have already come. But it is also available to purchase online if you go to stars.ca and click Get Involved and go down to the STARS store. You can find the calendar there, and there is a coupon code to type in, free shipping, and you can order your calendar there as well. It's kind of a nice keepsake, even a few months, into the year. Nice to be able to keep it afterwards.
Great. I was hoping you would give that information, so thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right, Council, can I get a motion to accept the presentation, please? Tony?
I move that council accept the presentation by STARS as information.
Seconder, please. Stephanie, all in favor? Carried. So thank you again for coming and being with us, and safe travels home. And our administration will be in touch.
All right. Thank you so much. Enjoy your meeting.
Okay, take care. All right, we shall jump over to.
For the property tax rate bylaw, we will go second, and we'll do the quarterly report first. Just we have a few people sitting in the audience that are just chomping at the bit to speak. So
Okay, so we're going to 8.1.2. All right.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Victoria Chan, Chief Financial Officer as well as Director of Corporate and Community Services. So I'm honored to present the first quarter report under my departments. Under my departments, I have three portfolios: corporate and finance, recreation, arts and cultures, and family communities support services we call FCSS. So this first quarter report just includes the three departments, and these departments are very operational intensive. So we are going to only talk about the key deliverables and accomplishment for the first quarter, encompassing January 1st to March 31st of this year. And of course, I'm very privileged to have a lot of in-house experts, so I'm going to let them to speak to it on the operation side, but I'm just going to provide a brief update with respect on the corporate services. So for instance, we have get the council's approval to implement and continue on the 2025 approved budgets, utilities, operations, and capital. We also updated 2025 fee schedules by law. We also have the assessment contract extended for 5 years. And we have also issued reassessment notice to manufacturer homeowners, as well as renew 2 line of credits borrowing bylaws, and as well as getting 2 letters of credits as a performance bond for the flood mitigation projects. And as one of the exercise to reduce the red tape, we also have 2 new standing bylaws, supplementary assessment bylaw, as well as the supplementary property tax bylaw. When I say standing bylaw, it means that it doesn't need to bring back to council every year. It will be stand until it's being repealed. And then last but not least is that we've finished off the 2024 year-end preparation as well as getting the audit. Again, we got a clean audit this year, so it is a big accomplishment for myself and also my team. And I'm going to bring in my my finance managers to speak to it. And before I want to say something is that my finance manager is retiring after 41 years, and this will be her last presentations. Her last day will be end of June, so I'm going to bring her in. Thanks.
Hello? Okay. Oh, there we go.
And before you begin, I'm going to make you both introduce yourselves. Tell us what you do.
You don't know by now? I'm Lynn Gwinner, Finance Manager for the town currently. And Ziyu, he's Financial Analyst.
Yeah, I'm the financial analyst for town.
And we're going to tag team. Okay, so just a little bit of info here. We have just roughly 3,100 utility accounts. I need my glasses. Oh boy.
Are you going to miss this?
Am I going to what?
Are you going to miss doing this?
Sure. Okay, we have about 3,197 water accounts, 3,068 sewer accounts, and roughly 3,100 garbage accounts. There are a few users that only have access to water and no sewer services. Revenues are up in the first quarter of 2025, about 12% increase over 2024. Sewer is up about 8%, 8.5% over Q1. Garbage again is up about just under 10% over 2024's. Increases are due to the utility rate bylaw increase in 2025. In addition to consumption is slightly higher. E-billings, we've seen a good 15% increase over 2024, largely due to the $2.50 charge per month for mailing. We have a savings on paper and, of course, on postage. Cemetery numbers are pretty much the same as last year. That's about it there. Okay. Oh, we moved on. Go back. Go back to what?
Oh.
Okay, business licenses and pet licenses. Pet licenses are down a little bit in 2025. This is due to last year we implemented a couple of options, an annual license, a 5-year license, or a lifetime license. So a number of residents chose those options, so our number's down this year slightly. Business licenses to date issued 665 in this quarter versus 639 last year. Revenues at 135,000 versus 120 in 24, so a little bit of an increase there. Okay, here we go. Accounts payable and accounts receivable, busy. Accounts payable is always busy. We've issued almost 1,100 invoices in the first quarter, totaling 4.8 million. Last year was more. We had 1,330 at this time in 2024, just over 6 million issued. Yeah, very busy. Mostly flood mitigation, I would say. Accounts receivable, we've issued 203 invoices to date versus 161 in 2024. Totaling, what have we got here? Sorry. 175,000 in 2025 and just under 200,000 in 2024. Okay. Moving on. Oh, now it's CU's turn.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mayor and Councilors. So I will just be giving a brief overview of the Q1 financial statements. So of course these are unaudited, as you've seen the audited one like last week. So in Q1, we're looking at things are fairly on track. So the column on the right there, that's how much it is variance up to date. So because Q1 would be around 25%, so it would be around 75% would be like exactly on track. So as you can see, most of the numbers are in that range. Some of them, for example, like government transfers and investment income. Government transfers is dependent on when we receive those transfers. So for example, the LGFF operating and the policing grant, we have not received those yet, so that's why we would be under the projection. Investment income, we don't usually record them. We haven't recorded them yet. Municipal tax right now is at 0 because we don't record those until the tax rate bylaw is passed, which is coming up to council today. So those number will be reflected in the later reports. And I think everything else here looks pretty much on track, and the transfers from reserve, those are also done later on throughout the year. So if we move on to the expense side, again here amortization expense, we usually do that at year end, so it would be blank for now. The other expenses like contracted and general services, interest, material goods and utilities, and the salaries, wages, and benefits. So those ones you can see it's pretty close to that 75% for the quarter of the year. Some of the expenses like the transfers to reserves or the like other expenditures. So a lot of those are just it's just a timing issue. We don't record them until later on in the year. But overall, most of the expenses are on track, and this is not like a 100% comprehensive report because of the invoices that are coming in. So some of them they will show up in the later quarters. Yeah. And also talk briefly regarding the assessment service. So we have Wild Rose Assessment Service for the town for the assessment. So in 2025, compared to 2024, we have around a 1% decrease in the total number of accessible properties. Most of the decrease is in the residential properties, and this is due to the assessors that we kind of consolidating some of the parcels. So like some of the parcels where it's the same owner and it's like adjacent, so we just consolidate those into one parcel. So it's not really like a change in that area aspect, and it's a little bit lower in the. There's a slight increase in the tax exempt accessible properties because of the flood project where those become tax exempt. Okay, and I'll let Elin speak to the community assistance grants.
Throw me under the bus. Okay, sorry, I wasn't. I thought you were
Kaylin's
doing
gonna
this
be
one.
happy.
What's
I
that?
don't think you have to do that part.
Oh, okay.
You can if you want.
Okay, okay.
Okay, just a sec. We'll just see if there's any questions on this, your guys' stuff. Tom?
Yeah, a couple of questions. First of all, thank you, Elin, for all of your service and dedication, and you will be missed. Just under the cemetery, there are fewer internments. Is that a trend that there are more people not doing internments? They're doing more, would you say? Don't know.
I'm gonna echo on that if you don't mind,
Yeah,
because I think I only know this because I've got my parents in the scatter garden, but there's 9 people that have used the scatter garden, which is incredible. Um, allowing a service that's not as expensive, but also, and it's a beautiful book there that you can still have your family's plaque on, but now they're put in the scatter garden from cremation. So that could be some, and that's just, we just approved that 2 years ago. So that could be,
Yeah.
so it's definitely getting well used.
and my second question concerning, so you don't record any of the tax payments, even though we have people who are paying monthly. So for those people who are paying monthly, how does that work? So they're paying monthly now, and then the tax increase comes in. And so the increase, if they've paid 3 months at the old rate, then the increase would be added to the 9 months on the new, over 9 months
Their
rather than
monthly
12
payment
months.
would adjust for the remainder of the year.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, well then I guess you guys are done. And thank you, there's your final presentation after 41 years. We're gonna miss you. All right.
What do you want to do? It's up to you. It's all good. I'm fine right here. I'm good. Thank you. Can you see me? All right. So good evening, Your Worship and Council. My name is Kaylin Jensen, and I am the acting manager of Recreation, Arts, and Culture. I have Andrea here. She is from the Aquaplex.
I'm the aquatic supervisor at the Aquaplex.
So I'm here to report on the community grant programs. So I'm happy to present this quarter's community grants that were awarded to the following organizations here. So we had 2 in-kind grants that were approximately $7,000, and then cash approved approximately $6,000. And then we are going to go to the Recreation, Arts, and Culture here. So I'm going to report on the Badlands Community Facility. You'll see in 2024, our expenses were a little bit higher than this year. So that is great. We are working on being more efficient in the recreation department, and we look forward to making some positive changes. Our revenue It's 163, 458 compared to last year, 134, 682. And then below that, our attendance. So that includes our drop-ins, our memberships, and our reservations. Um, we went from 20,071 in 2024, and in 2025, we have 20,612.
Okay, now on to the pool side. So our expenses are up slightly compared to last quarter. Partly, this is due because we were actually open for the 3 months this quarter versus last year where we were closed. We also have started doing some extra work on the outdoor pool earlier in the year versus last year. So our revenues are up a lot higher from last year because, of course, we were open for the full 3 months this whole quarter. So that was definitely a positive over last year. And then if we go into our numbers, of course, this again, our attendance is reflecting in us being open. Okay, with attendance of 8,000 versus the 3,600 that we had in 2024. I'll let Kaylin talk about the memberships.
All right. So the recreation memberships sold by area. So for the Aquaplex, we had, oh no, I'm not going to do that. Okay. So Starland County, we had 57, Wheatland County, 22, special areas number 2, 11, other, 145. So that is, say people are coming from Calgary and they're only staying for a few months. Those are the others. Nehill County, and then Drumheller Valley.
So yeah, it's just nice to note that we are getting so many recreation memberships from other counties, that it's not just our own citizens that are contributing to the recreation facilities, it's the surrounding area as well.
All right.
Should we ask any questions?
You guys got any questions on that part? Go ahead, Patrick.
Just with these numbers with the counties, are the villages within the counties counted within those, or are those considered as the others as well?
So each of the villages would be counted within their county. So for example, Carbon would not be its own entity, it would be included in the county numbers.
Tom?
Yeah, just going back a couple of slides, reservations, is that like the BCF bookings? Would you say like the BCF upstairs area is being booked more than it was? Is
Yeah.
that what that's saying?
Yeah, you betcha. So that's the number of permits that we've created.
Yeah.
Booking permits. Yeah.
And most of these new memberships to the BCF are probably because of pickleball, right?
Absolutely, Tom. Absolutely.
Just had to do it, didn't you? All right. Okay, we'll move on to the next slide, number 4 or 5.
All right.
Sorry, your quarterly report on events.
So, we had some really fun events from January, February, March. First one, we had our membership appreciation day. And we had board games nights for kids, make and take. So we had phase 1 and phase 2. Teen swim, swim to survive pickleball tournament. So that was our men's pickleball tournament. Family day, we had a great turnout. E-game Smash Brothers, and our bike rodeo. Coming up here, we have our teen swim on May 23rd. The next is May 26th, celebrating volunteerism. So that will be at the BCF on the terrace. So we invite all volunteers to come and join us so that we can celebrate you. Next is the women's pickleball tournament that is coming up May 24th and 25th. And then we have our e-games and board games night for adults. So please sign up and tell your friends all about it. It'll be a fun night.
And we have a tree carving event the long weekend of May.
Yes, that too.
Okay, anything else on there? Well, well done, Kaylin, for your first presentation.
Thank you.
You did great. All right, and Karen's taking on the next one.
I was saying I'm the lone soldier up here. Madam Mayor and councilors, the home support program. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. The home support programs are funded by two grants, United Way Healthy Aging Grant and the United Way Grant, specifically for the hot meals for Drumheller and Starland County. As mentioned on the slides here, we provide hot meals, frozen meals, grocery shopping, light housekeeping, and snow removal and grass cutting. But I didn't put grass cutting in because it was just the first quarter. So we also provide transportation for seniors for medical appointments in the community. It is known that health outcomes improve when in support is provided. We are seeing an improvement in decreased fragility, decreased ER visits, walk-ins, MD visits, and improvements in mental health. So it's showing that these home supports that we provide are improving the community for older adults. We do have thresholds on these programs just to keep its longevity and because of the funding. So FCSS programs. We host a number of events in the community with various topics, as you can see. These programs are very important for the education, socialization, information for our seniors in the program. It also helps with isolation prevention. These programs are regular programs that run September to the end of May. The classes run consistently on the same week of the month or the day of the month. This allows our older adults to plan around these events. And the Healthy Aging Group continues to strive for healthy aging in place and meets each quarter to discuss progress. So we discuss programs that we offer, and we also discuss our services. And with the help of the Senior Coalition is who I meet with. These programs work because partnerships in the community, which is an emphasis on the P for the people involved. I would be amiss not to thank the FCSS board for their continued support and guidance this quarter, and I look forward to a successful year ahead. Any questions?
We like having you. Any questions?
Any questions?
Comments? Steph?
Thanks, Karen.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, with the grants that we have and the longevity of the program, just how long we'll be able to provide those home supports.
So for the Healthy Aging Grant, we were granted 4 years. So initially we were granted a grant of $175,000, and then we were granted 2 more years at $100,000. And then the United Way for hot meals, we were granted $18,000 the first year, $19,000 this year, and then $20,000 next year. So it should take us to 2027.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're an incredible grant writer.
Yeah.
How do you get 26 participants in e-games with seniors?
No, actually, the e-games was the kids. Sorry, that wasn't seniors.
Okay.
But I did have an intergenerational program that I ran with seniors and their grandkids, and it was such a success at the library. So a new partnership. And I was really pleased because there was 12 people for the initial first time. So they want to come back in September. I don't know if they do e-games, but we do have a computer program running in Morin and Delia for our seniors. So just to get them used to technology.
Very good. Any other questions and comments? All right. Well, first off, I'd like to get a motion here, council, please. Somebody? Go ahead, Tom.
I move that council accepts as information the 2025 first quarterly report for corporate and community services as presented.
Seconder, please. Patrick, any other comments? All right, I would just like to, again, I've said this before, but it really is truly important how you as directors allow the team who actually does most of the work. No, just kidding. But you guys do a lot of the work. And it's really nice for the listening public to hear right from you guys who are doing the work. So I commend you all for allowing them to be involved. And I commend you all. I know that it feels nervous, but honestly, it's not that big a deal. We will keep getting you doing more, but Lynn gets to retire. So we got to figure out a way to get her to do one more before she goes. All right, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. And thank you all. You can stick around if you'd like, but you're welcome to carry on with your life. Okay, I'm like 4 minutes from an open public hearing. Yeah, so I think we'll just take a 5 minute, well, 4.5 minute recess, and we'll be back with a public hearing. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. We'll call the open public hearing. I need a motion, council, or I'm gonna make actually I do this. They've changed the rules on me here so that the public hearing for bylaw 09.25 downtown Burn Riverside East removal of land designation will be open at 5:31 p.m. The introduction. This hearing is to be held in accordance with Part 7 of the Municipal Government Act and the Town of Drumheller Council and Committee Procedure Bylaw 04.21 in order to provide all people or groups affected by Bylaw 09.25 downtown Burn Riverside East removal of land designation the opportunity to provide feedback prior to approval. No decisions will be made at the meeting. Council will consider all submissions and will deliberate on this feedback at a future meeting of council. I will now ask the Chief Administrator Officer, Daryl Drumheller, to introduce bylaw 09.25.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is a part of our flood mitigation lands. This was a land that was municipal reserve that is just to the southeast of the condos that are Riverside condos. And this was land that is adjacent to a water ditch and storm gates that go through there. And so the intention of the land or of the the intention of the flood project is to turn everything into either a public utility lot or a environmental reserve. So we have gone through first reading of this removal of a municipal reserve. If this passes the third reading, then we will be coming back with a recommendation to pass a bylaw to change this to a public utility lot in the near future. And so there is a map showing what the area it looks like on there, but basically it is a piece of land that has existed as an MR that would be changed all to a PUL through another bylaw at the end of this.
Thanks, Daryl. All right. The rules of conduct and process for the public hearing shall be as follows. Those who are in support of the matter will be given the opportunity to speak first, followed by those in opposition. Following these presentations, the CAO will be given an opportunity to respond to any comments, and finally, council will be given the opportunity to ask clarity or clarifying questions to any of the presenters. Each presenter will have 5 minutes to speak, and each group or organization will have 10 minutes to speak. Each presenter shall state their name, whether they are in support or in opposition of the matter, whether or not they are a resident of Drumheller, and how they are affected by the matter. Each presenter shall address the presentation of the mayor and shall only address council with the permission of the mayor. We request that you only present materials associated with the subject of the public hearing. All presentations associated with the public hearing will form part of the meeting minutes and will become part of the public record. Council may not debate the matter at the public hearing and may only ask questions for clarification. Council will have the opportunity to ask questions once all the presentations are finished. We will ask that you respect the views of everyone here and allow each person their time to speak. We will now open the floor to the public. Do we have any written submissions in support of bylaw 09.25?
There were no written submissions received.
For the first time, has anyone registered to present in person or remotely in support of bylaw 09.25?
No one has registered in person or remotely.
For the second time, is there anyone present who would like to speak in support of bylaw 09.25? No?
No one has come forward.
For the third time, is there anyone present who would like to speak in support of bylaw 09.25?
No one has come forward.
Do we have any written submissions in objection to bylaw 09.25?
No written submissions were received.
For the first time, has anyone registered to present in person or remotely in objection to bylaw 09.25?
No one has registered to present in person or remotely.
For the second time, is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition of bylaw 09.25?
No one has stepped forward.
For the third time, is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition of bylaw 09.25?
No one has stepped forward.
I will give the CAO the opportunity to respond to any of the comments received, which there are none. I will now give council the opportunity to ask clarifying questions to any of the parties, which there aren't any. Thank you for your input this evening. Council will take your comments into consideration when deciding on this matter. Therefore, okay, sorry, everyone listening, this is new procedures I'm required to follow. Am I allowed to just say the motion, or do I have to have a councillor say it? I can, okay. I move that the public hearing of bylaw 09.25, downtown berm, Riverside East, removal of land designation, be closed at 5:37 p.m. All right, thank you. Thank you, listening public. And now we shall move on, and I think I'm just going to carry on, and I'll go backwards after, but I'm going to go to 8.2.1, and we'll let Trent come forward.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. My name is Trent Keir. I'm the Manager of Municipal Enforcement. Tonight I have before you a request for decision for the first reading of bylaw number 1925, Community Standards Bylaw. Additionally, should Council grant this first reading tonight, we would like to set a public hearing for the bylaw on June 2nd. Now, for some context, in early March, administration apprised council of our desire to repeal bylaw 0619, Community Standards Bylaw, and bylaw 0419, Tourism Corridor Property Standards Bylaw. We would like to do this because our legal counsel has advised us that the presence of two bylaws regulating essentially the same issue can prescribe conflicting standards. Legally, the Community Standards Bylaw applies to every premises in the town of Drumheller, and the Tourism Corridor Property Standards Bylaw applies to a select number of properties. Therefore, there are properties in town where one could argue they're not clear what standard they fall under. Our lawyers have advised that enforcement could be successfully challenged on these grounds of unclear or conflicting standards. Now, we certainly recognize that there were reasons years ago for drafting the bylaws this way and appreciate the past history, but we do believe that Drumheller property maintenance has evolved to the point where one clear, reasonable, and attainable standard is appropriate, and that's what this bylaw seeks to accomplish. Now, before we started work on it, we did feel it was essential to engage members of the community and get their feelings on the bylaw. We launched an opinion survey seeking the support levels for the regulation and enforcement of several community standards related issues. The survey was held online for 4 weeks, and we also held in-person engagement related activities, attending a downtown community business association meeting, as well as appearing at a town open house. The results were overwhelmingly positive. We received 311 responses on the survey, and overall results indicate that there are high support levels for this bylaw. Not one question on the survey received more responses indicating that issues are not important as compared to important. I'll draw your attention to the second last question in the survey if you're following along. We asked residents to rank their community standards related issues on perceived levels of importance, with one being the most important issue. Our community told us the top 4 issues are accumulation of household goods and garbage, nuisance noise, littering, and unkept vegetation. Now, survey results can be a little bit misleading if you only rely on one set of data. Therefore, we like to interpret survey results in their entirety, because if you look at the least four most important issues to the community, you'll see nuisance noise, unkept vegetation, dilapidated vehicles, and building maintenance. So therefore, we do see that people can feel very strongly one way or feel very strongly another way. As such, I hesitate to offer a broad generalization about the results apart from we received more responses indicating these issues are important. This, along with kind of the nature of our in-person discussions, lead us to believe people do support the bylaw. This being said, I will cite survey results kind of throughout the presentation here tonight, just to show that the community did have input into how this was drafted. With that, I'll walk council through some of the changes. First, we'll start at section 4.2. That is accumulation of materials, general property maintenance. 122 people deemed household goods and garbage accumulation to be an extremely important issue when surveyed, and 100 felt it was very important. As such, we did make modifications within this section to allow for more effective enforcement of the issue. Section 4.2 combines all goods or refuse accumulation into one large, concise section, whereas in the previous bylaws, it was found throughout several very wordy sections. Also noteworthy is the screening provision for goods and garbage has been removed. Now, in other areas of bylaws, you'll find that items like dumpsters are regulated. You can screen them from public view, hide them behind a fence. Enforcement has found, though, that this screening provision for household goods and garbage really allows hoarding situations to persist. I understand that this is someone's property, and we don't want to be overly onerous in the enforcement, but I do maintain that no person who has a few odd items or bags of recyclables would be negatively impacted by that change. But it would certainly allow for some negative hoarding situations to persist, and we have found that over the past several years. Additionally, provisions for disallowing yard waste, piles of dirt or gravel not in use, or items deemed a fire hazard have been added. And those are absent from the current bylaw. Next, I'll speak to derelict vehicles, also found within section 4.2. The community is a little bit split on this issue. We had 90 responses indicating it's an extremely important issue, but 95 say it's only somewhat important, and somewhat important is the most neutral response within the survey. In practice, enforcement has dealt with a great deal of pushback when enforcing derelict vehicles. I would say probably the most pushback out of anything we enforce. People feel passionately about it, and in rural Alberta, derelict vehicles are quite common. The changes to derelict vehicles have been made more to the definition section than the actual enforcement section. The definition section of derelict vehicles within the current community standards bylaws very, very expansive and includes any vehicle that could more or less be deemed unsightly. And we often rely on the Municipal Government Act for interpretation of definitions. Unsightly more or less means lacking general maintenance or upkeep. So any vehicle deemed as lacking general maintenance or upkeep could be considered derelict under the current community standards bylaw. We find that a little bit challenging to apply out in the community. So the current definition within this proposed bylaw relies on parts being removed, the vehicle being substantially damaged, or the vehicle not being able to be operated safely. Now, I recognize this does represent a slight relaxation in the standard. However, to somewhat offset that, we've inserted a provision in section 6 that says a person cannot park a vehicle in the front yard of a property in any area that's not either developed or like paved or gravel surface. So hopefully that could mitigate some of the negative impacts of vehicles within the residential areas. Next, section 5. Currently, the authority for sidewalk snow clearing is derived from preservation of sidewalk and governing encroachments on Highway Bylaw 0207 and amending Bylaw 2221. That bylaw states that if residents do not clear their sidewalks of snow and ice within 24 hours of the accumulation, that the town may go clear the sidewalk at their expense. However, this bylaw does not actually allow for fines to be issued in cases of non-compliance. We've moved the exact same provisions from that bylaw into this bylaw. Because oftentimes we'll deal with repeat offenders where we're going over and clearing the sidewalk 5, 6, 7, 8 times a winter. In these situations, we would like to be able to hold people accountable via a monetary penalty as well. Now, one of the issues that enjoyed the highest level of public support is littering. In the survey, only 13 responses indicated that littering was not of some level of importance. It's in section 10 if you're following around. We've developed a far more robust littering section that would assist in enforcing all forms of littering or illegal dumping. Additionally, the section creates an offense for not picking up litter when directed. So essentially, enforcement could direct you to pick up the litter, fine you for littering, and then fine you if you do not pick up the litter. So it is a beefy section. Few other changes a note. Derelict machinery wasn't clearly defined in the previous bylaw. It's noted as machinery that is significantly aged or in poor condition or not in use on a regular basis for its intended purpose. This derelict machinery provision is more or less lumped in with an outdoor appliance section in the current bylaw. We found it's quite commonplace in community standards bylaws to allow for the outdoor storage of appliances. However, they are required to be locked under the bylaw. The intention is safety for children. Both derelict machinery and safe outdoor appliance storage are now in their own sections, not lumped together, and that's also in section 4.2. Community Standards Bylaw 0619 prohibits a property owner from allowing branches from their trees to overhang above or into adjacent properties. Now, Drumheller has numerous large and older trees in several areas. In cases of non-compliance with the bylaw, we sometimes have to enter a property and perform work at the owner's expense. Our legal counsel has advised us that it would be preferable to deal with these overhanging branch calls civilly because the town does take on a degree of risk entering property and more or less cutting the trees. Even in the last month, I've had a call of somebody dropping a tree branch on a fence and causing substantial damage. So we feel it's an unnecessary risk for the town to enforce that provision. That being said, in this current draft, vegetation is still prohibited from overhanging sidewalks, impairing visibility on roadways, or interfering with utilities. So we want to keep it to those safety matters. Another change of note is monetary penalties imposed by the bylaw. I'll draw your attention to section 19.1. This is the section that enables the ability to fine under this bylaw. As you see, it does allow for a wide discretionary range of fines, but notes that in Schedule A, there are specified penalties to be issued by enforcement officers. Now, the reason for doing this is essentially to provide lawyers legal flexibility when prosecuting offenses of this bylaw in court. If your enabling section specifies the penalty, then the lawyer cannot seek pretrial resolutions or vary the amount of the fine when asking a judge in cases of conviction. So you'll see somebody who receives a few fines, and to avoid going to trial, you reduce the fine, right? Pretty common practice. I think most people have heard of it before, but if you specify the penalties, you have to stick to those penalties. And then on the flip side, we have had prosecution of offenses where there's substantial public interest, and we'd actually like to ask for an increased penalty, but you can't do that. Now, I do think it is important, though, that this flexibility stays at the level of prosecution and isn't downloaded to enforcement officers. As such, we do prescribe the penalties to be issued by enforcement officers. Those are the fines that would be issued, but in certain cases, our lawyers would be able to vary. The fines range from $100 to $1,000, higher penalties for repeat offenders, safety violations, lower penalties, your more cosmetic issues. I'll try not to go too much into the financial side, but I do think it's important we note it because there is costs to enforcing this bylaw, and I don't think we think about that. There's even times where we issue a fine and we have to have a lawyer attend court and convict that person in absence. That's going to come with a $160, $200 bill. So you want to set your fine proportionate, so at least if you're convicting in absence, your fine is paying off the lawyer. And then in cases of enforcement orders is how it's defined in the bylaw, but it's Municipal Government Act order to remedy contraventions. When we do apply for these orders, it's where we would seek to take remediation at the property owner's expense. It's our stance and case law's stance, quite frankly, that the town be awarded full costs in the amount of a successful application. Justices like to have a lot of discretion, so we don't always get full costs, but that's what we seek. And when we do perform work, it is obviously at their expense, and charges of doing that work are assessed to the tax roll. Like I said, I don't want to go too much into the financial side of things, but it is important to be fiscally responsible. Overall, we believe this proposed bylaw creates one reasonable standard for all properties in town. We did endeavor to make changes in line with public opinion found within the engagement survey, while also recognizing the high priority this council places on maintenance and upkeep in town. So there's a lot going on here between the surveys, changes to the bylaw. Totally appreciate you probably have some questions, and I'd be happy to answer those.
So how this works is I will call for first reading, and then we don't give any comment till after the public hearing. I have a list of things I'd love to say, but on a public hearing, just for listening public, when it goes into a public hearing, we don't speak before the public speaks. So, all right, now I need a motion, Patrick.
I move the council give first reading to Community Standards Bylaw number 19.25 as presented and sets a public hearing date for June 2nd, 2025.
Seconder, please. Tom, all in favor? Carried. Yeah, so thank you very much, Trent. This was great information. Hopefully we have people that come and give us more feedback on this because it is a very vital part of the community that we need to keep this well maintained and continue to be the cleanest, friendliest, most sought after community in Alberta, right? Okay, so we can let Trent go. Now let's go back to 8.1.1, please, Victoria.
Okay, good afternoon, Council. This is regarding the 2025 property taxations bylaw 2125. Property tax rate bylaw. Usually we call it the mill rate. So as per section 353 of the MGA, the town must adopt on an annual basis a mill rate bylaw. Basically, it would authorize the administrations to the levy property tax within the town of Drumheller. So the draft bylaw is prepared in accordance with the MGA requirements and also adheres to council directions with respect to the municipal tax requirements as well as the provincial requisitions. So in total, this draft bylaw will levy about $15.6 million in property tax and of which including about 3.9 million for the provincial requisitions. On top of that is about $2.1 million for the 2025 estimated RCMP police costing. So overall, with this property tax rate bylaw, the town only keeps about 60%. The 40% it goes to the provincial requisitions and the RCMP. And with the bylaw, it starts off with the assessment value. So it starts off with the 2024 assessment row. When we say 2024, because it's based on the market value established on July 1st, 2024, and the physical condition of the property as of December 31st, 2024. The town has 4,859 parcels, of which 656 are tax exempted. Of course, they are tax exempted due to the ownership or the usage, such as whether they're municipal-owned properties, public institutions, or nonprofit organizations. And and the town, as a result of that, only have 4,192 taxable properties. So all these municipal requirements and the provincial requisitions are shared by only 4,192 property tax owner, property owners. So while Rose assessment, they did a presentation to council back in March and explained that based on the 2024 market value, the town witnessed a general increase in most of the property classes. And they used 996 non-arm's length sales transactions in Drumheller during 2024. When we say non-arm's length, those are basically third party, so no family transfer. It's just pure market transactions. And they usually use a 3 years average for market analysis and comparisons. So they use 657 from the period of July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2024. And the total assessment goes up by about 12 to 13% for this period. Again, for listening public, an increase in assessment value does not always equate to a corresponding change in the property tax, and I'm going to speak about that later. The town, as of now, received 3 assessment appeals, 2 residentials and 1 non-residentials. And again, the outcome of the appeal is not within the town's control. It is the appeal board decision. So the outcome of the appeal would change the property tax the town will receive because it changed the assessment value. Given the appeal valuation right now is of minimum impact, we do not think that it would significantly change our tax revenues. So, and this is just a breakdown of the provincial requisitions for 2025. For the school, for the educations, you will see that that is an increase of about $518,000. So from 2.7 mil to 3.3 mils, an increase in 18.53%. The senior foundations, it is a decrease by $40,000, representing about 5.8% decrease. And in the DIP, this is just a requisition for the province to assess the value for those designated industrial properties, increased by 60% of $1,700. So that is some wrinkles in the assessment value for the DIP we call DIP, designated industrial properties. So despite the fact that it is increased from $38.7 million to $67 million, the province has advised us that that would be an estimated $3 million adjustments, downward adjustment, because they make an error. Again, those assessments are made by the province, so we are still waiting for the final numbers, but this is the administration needs to put it in considerations because $3 million represent a significant portion for the town's revenues. So as a result of the overall assessments in DIP, administration is able to flatline the mill rate for the non-residential class property to promote a business-friendly tax environment. So as per council's approval back in April, administration is proposing a 4% increase in property tax revenue. Again, it is a 4% increase in revenue, not necessarily translate into the mill rate. As a result, actually, our mill rate decreased by 7%. So last year, our mill rate is 9.07376 for residentials. This year, we're proposing 8.43526, a 7% decrease. And as I mentioned previously, is that the non-residential mill rate flatline at 15.47958. Previously, council also provide directions to administrations to implement the minimum tax. So notwithstanding with any applicable mill rates, the minimum tax of $500 would apply to parcels. Again, the minimum tax is only applies to your municipal tax portion is less than $500. So if you receive a tax bill or based on your assessment, your tax payable is less than $500, it will go to $500 plus any applicable education or senior foundation requisitions. So what does it mean when you have all this mill rate mill rate decrease, and then your assessment value goes up? So as I mentioned before, an increase in assessment value does not always meaning you get the same increase in your tax payable. So in the residential property tax class, the mill rate will decrease by 7%. Now, based on the 2024 assessment, an average single-family home is assessed as $260,000. And if your tax payable would be, in this case, would be $2,193.17. Compared to 2024, your average single-family home is assessed as $221,333. And your municipal tax portion back then would have been $2,008.32. So it works out your increase about 50 cents each day. So and this is based on an average residential property in Drumheller. And one last thing is that knowing that that may be a potential labor disruptions in Canada Post, we are going to send out the tax informations right away once council approve the bylaws, so that we can beat the cutoff, because that is a potential labor disruptions by May 20th. So we would like to send out the tax notices before them to avoid any disruptions. But the deadline to pay without penalties remains on August 31st, 2025. Thank you.
Thanks, Victoria. Can I get a motion, please, Council? Stephanie?
I move that council give first reading to 2025 property tax rate bylaw 21.25 as presented.
Seconder, please. Tony? All in favor? Carrie, can I get a motion for second reading, please? Tony?
I move that council give second reading to 2025 property tax rate bylaw number 21.25 as presented.
Seconder, please. Patrick? Comments? Tom?
Yeah, just a comment on the Drumheller District Seniors Foundation requisition. I see it goes down this year compared with last year. And just for information, the Seniors Foundation is not increasing or decreasing the requisition as such, but the amounts that the contributing partners pay is based on the equalized assessments of the 5 partners. And so the equalized assessment goes up, the partner pays more, goes down. And so this is Starland, this is Delia, this is Munson, this is Morin, and the town of Drumheller. So it's interesting that it's actually going down, even though we're not really decreasing it. It's staying the same for the foundation as such.
Tony?
Thanks for the presentation there, Victoria. A lot of numbers there, a lot of detail. I just wanted to take it a step back and for the listening public, refocus on the tax assessments that were mailed out earlier. Caused a lot of anxiety, a lot of panic, and a lot of understanding or assumptions, I think, that was going to be the proposed property tax. But let's keep in mind that there's 4,200 ratepayers in our community. There was 1,000 homes sold in 2024. So 25% of the market turned over in Drumheller last year. Those new sales would have dictated the value of your neighbor and the neighbor beside him, right? So it may have been alarming. We probably haven't seen an increase in assessments of this magnitude for quite some years, but that's not a bad thing. That means the value of your property is increasing. At the end of the day, the town still only needs X number of dollars to balance the budget. Say it's 10 million. So if one of those numbers go up, the other number's coming down, i.e. the mill rate. And I think you're seeing that play out here now, where the assessed values went up. The total assessed values went up 13%. Maybe yours went up a little bit more, a little bit less, right? As a consequence to that, the mill rate is coming down 7%, right? So they have to keep in mind that that one number doesn't stand alone and drive anything. It's a balancing equation there. So just wanted to highlight that again going forward here.
Thanks, Tony. Anybody else? All right, all in favor of second reading? Carrie, can I get unanimous consent to go into third, please? Stephanie?
I move that council give unanimous consent for third and final reading of bylaw 21.25, 2025 property tax rate bylaw.
Seconder, please. Tony? All in favor? Carrie, can I get a motion to go in third reading, please? Tom?
I move the council give third and final reading to 2025 property tax bylaw 21.25 as presented.
Seconder, please. Patrick? Comments? I just want to, you had said 60%, we are basically collecting of the 100%, 40% we're actually collecting for other parties.
Yes, it is correct.
That's a pretty big thing that I don't know if everybody really knows that. So I think it's up to us to remind people when they're looking at their property tax that it isn't all just the town. Okay, all in favor? Carrie, thanks, Victoria. Thanks for all you and your team's work on that. And last but not least, 8.3.1, please, Jared.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. My name is Jared Bronstein. I'm the Director of Infrastructure Services, and today I am presenting our first quarter report. Just to give you a little background, the Infrastructure Service Department is made up of 5 unique sub-departments. So we have operations, which deals with our parks, roads, and fleet. We have our facilities, which deals with everything from town hall to the BCF to the arena to water treatment plants. We have utilities, which provides water and wastewater services to the community. We have capital projects, which again looks at providing the finished product and new and shiny things for things within the town. And then I have an airport that reports to me, which is being currently managed by a third-party nonprofit. I'm going to start off today with saying that my team will be joining me for Q2. Unfortunately, I've had a fair amount of turnover in my team in the last month or so, so they were unprepared for tonight. I'm going to start off with going over a see-click fix reporting. This is again very high-level reporting. We will be providing further detail in the second quarter of 2025. So as to show you that things are busy, as with everybody else, 2025 is starting off on a really hot foot. We're continuing to see lots of concerns coming in from the public, not only from a vegetation control perspective, but the other perspective, which goes into vegetation control, hot potholes, everything, if somebody wants a greater response time. If we go on to the next slide. I have the clicker. Thank you. First quarter, since we were dealing with mostly potholes and snow and ice control, we did some highlights on this one. So if you look at our first quarter for roads, the majority of our concerns were sidewalk, as well as gravel roads. If you look at snow and ice control, we've actually seen a decrease for 2025, and that could be because of the fact that the weather was a heck of a lot nicer. You're welcome. From 2024. I'm going to move on to the utilities. So our water plant produced 410,000 cubic meters in the first quarter of 2025. That is up from 2024. And in relation, both of our wastewater plants have seen more influent from 2024 to 2025. This is a snapshot of our work orders. So these are work orders that are come through our utilities department through downstairs at town hall. As you can see, again, 2025 is starting off on a good foot. We continue to see more and more locate requests. We continue to see more and more turn-offs and turn-offs, meter reads, meter issues, sanitary service issues, etc. So back to our utilities. So our major maintenance. So these were scheduled activities for 2020, first quarter 2024. So we did our raw water storage ponds. So those are the ponds on the north side of the river, the 4 large ones. We've actually drained one of them to clean it this year, as well as repair an isolation valve. We did some sedimentation cleaning in our water treatment plant this year. So we've taken one cell offline, so one side of the treatment process offline. We've cleaned it out, got rid of all the manganese and other types of sediment building up along the bottom of the ponds. And then we did our annual report. So these are legislative reports for both the province and the feds. And then our major maintenance unscheduled. So these are things that come along that we have to deal with on an emergency basis. We had some clarifier repairs at the wastewater plant. So one of the motor and the swing arm went down, so we had to quickly replace the motor and repair the swing arm. Unplanned water system repairs, so we had 4 major breaks this first quarter. And then solid removal system repairs at the wastewater plant. So our auger that removes materials out of the wastewater stream went down. So we've been having to deal with that over the last couple months. Facilities, we had some updates to the wastewater treatment plant. Updated the alarm system and the H2S system. Badlands Community Facility, we put in a new CON H2S system as well as the natural gas detection system. And this is a result of I think it was a faulty stove and a leaking natural gas into the environment. We didn't know about it until I believe somebody called for smell of gas, fire department responded, all that kind of fun stuff. So we've put in detection to try to mitigate that for future. And then ongoing facility inspections. So we've done public works, water treatment plant, wastewater plant, did some pest inspections, and as well as some overhead door inspections. Operations this quarter. So the mechanic shop, we completed a total of 60 work orders, 12 ongoing, and 3 commercial vehicle inspections. Roads and streets, we've spent a bunch of time doing pothole repairs. That was due to the massive amount of freeze and thaw we've had over the last 3 months. We've purchased 60 tons of sand, 45 tons of salt, and 35 tons of rock chips. So this is part of our ice control program. And we were steaming catch basins and culverts over the winter period. We had a major one out in East Cooley. Parks and playgrounds, fencing repairs. So we're already being vandalized on Cahoot Crossing. It's very unfortunate. The community has already started ripping down that fence, but we've had several repairs on that fence line. And we continue to do tree trimming within the area with Dutch elm now and not being allowed to being trimmed. Community assistance grant, we've had 1 in-kind assistance, which was highlighted in the earlier slide from community services. We had a new truck arrive. So this is unit 331. This is a new tandem axle truck. This truck will be used for snow and ice control, mostly for hauling snow, not really using for plowing snow. This truck will also be used during the summer for hauling materials, etc. We've placed an order for a new hook truck, complete with a garbage unit to provide services in the community. And then our flower program orders have been placed for deployment in June. Municipal airport. Things are looking good at the municipal airport. We've seen some increase in fuel sales. Visitation has gone up, and we've had 0 events in the first quarter. Visits and overnight is being represented as the use of the courtesy car. So when those are being conceived as overnight stays within the community. GIS. So 911 addresses have been updated with our our Alberta Municipal Data Sharing Partnership. So this is information for 911 response. So it goes to 911 services, including fire department, to confirm our addresses are actually up to date and actually reflect where they are in the real world. We've worked with legislative services on the development of a mail-out application through our GIS platform. We've worked with the flood office on migrating all our data for the newly constructed berms, so this will be part of our asset management programs, and we are currently reviewing our sanitary information for fidelity, whatever, for accuracy, and yeah, I'm not gonna leave that word alone. So this is just to make sure that we have one set of assets that are actually correct. So right now we're trying to validate all our information within our GIS system. And then capital projects. So we're actively working on 17 projects, $14.4 million capital program. 7.9 of it is carry forward from 2024 and 6.5 is new funding for 2025. We've committed 3.1 million to date, 10 new contractual agreements, 15 letters of award. We've partnered with the Trans-Canada Trail to secure Drumheller rails to trails as part of the national trail system. So that signage is in place, and if you actually walk the rails to trails, you'll see the signage along it. We are going to be featured in the May National Trail Profile for the Trans-Canada Trail. So that'll put us on the map for being part of that trail system. And then we've delivered 5 requests for decisions to council. So this is a shot of our capital projects and their status. So as you can see, most of them are well underway. Some are nearing completion already this first quarter of 2025. We've put out, as stated, we've put out 13 procurement processes, updated all the procurement templates and contracts. So we've actually done a full evaluation of all our procurement documents and redeveloped our request for proposal, our request for quotation, our request for tender. So that was a significant contractual update from our part, making sure our language is up to date and making sure that all the information that's being provided to vendors is accurate and limiting the town's liability as part of that. We've developed procurement documents, we've published bids, we've reviewed inquiries, we've monitored submissions and evaluated responses. So again, the procurement department or the procurement part of capital projects is quite intense, and it takes a lot of our energy to keep this up and going. And we are currently in the process of drafting a new purchasing bylaw. Will be coming to council in Q2.
Thanks, Jared.
Motored through that extra fast for you guys.
No, it's a lot of information, lots of work. Questions? Tony?
We do a motion first or questions first?
Yeah, I guess let's do that first.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'll move that council accepts as information the 2025 Q1 report from Infrastructure Services as presented.
Seconder? Stephanie, questions? Tony?
Yeah, just one question on the slide you had with the new hook truck being purchased. Has the delivery date changed there? I was
Yes.
under the impression it was August 26th delivery.
So we actually got ahead of it, and it actually will be delivered before, I believe, then middle to end of June. So we're actually going to see that piece of equipment fairly quickly.
Okay, because your slide says August 25. That's going to be a reality?
Yes, it will be a reality.
Oh, good news.
Anybody else? Tom?
How are we doing on our effluent water usage? I've been pushing this for a number of years, and I believe we are using some effluent water for like watering plants and things like that, are we not?
Not that I'm aware of. Effluent water gets discharged to the river as per permitting. To use effluent water for other things can be a costly endeavor, and we need permitting to do that. I'm not 100% aware of the processes in Alberta, but it is something that has to be permitted to be allowed to happen. So if we were looking at using that effluent water for other activities, you would have to chlorinate it. You'd have to make sure it's UV treated. You'd have to make sure that it is very clearly identified as effluent water for public use. And I'm not sure what Alberta Health deals with that one either.
So many golf courses put up signs that they are using effluent water to water their golf course. And I don't see why we couldn't use effluent water, for example, to water our flower pots. It's not going anywhere but into the flowers. The biggest issue I've had over the years, of course, is when you have tanker trucks that put up to our water fill stations and fill up with potable water, and then they go use it for dust control. That just drives me crazy. Is there no way we can start using effluent water and
I can look into it and the associated cost to move towards that. I used effluent water exclusively in my previous employer to water a golf course and all the parks and around that area. So fair enough experience with it, but again, different jurisdictions. So I'd have to look into it here.
And due to the number of things we have on the council task list for this term, you can add that to the next term if Tom do so requests at that time. Sorry, Tom. We gotta get everything else done on the list. Any other questions? He didn't like my answer. Okay, my question is C-click fix.
Yes.
I love to see it come back.
Yep.
I hope, I know that you're new to C-click fix and you've, I just would like you guys to get just a little bit more informative of it. Like we used to see a percentage of, so it was kind of a bragging tool for us to say, Public Works gets, garbage pickup 98% of the time, that kind of stuff that we had. Just, it helps the community know exactly the turnaround. And again, I respect that you're just learning all of this and by the looks of your presentation, you only have like maybe 100 things on the go, maybe 117, I don't know. So I understand, but if you could look into the future of maybe just expanding it a bit more.
Well, Your Worship, we can provide a little more information in Q2.
Perfect. All right, any other questions? Okay, all in favor? Carrie, thanks, Jared.
Thank you.
All right, council, can I get a motion to adjourn, please? Tony,
I move that council adjourn the meeting.
seconder, Stephanie, all in favor? Carried. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. Please keep Lisa and her family in your prayers, and just thank you for everything she's done for this community. Take care.